सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं पुराण न्याय मीमांसा धर्मशास्त्रांग मिश्रिताः वेदाः स्थानानि विद्यानां धर्मस्य च चतुर्दश आयुर्वेदो धनुर्वेदो गान्धर्वश्चैव ते त्रयः अर्थशास्त्रं चतुर्थन्तु विद्याः अष्टादशैव ताः ओम शांतिः शांतिः शांतिः. Namaste. I welcome everyone who's watching this video. This video is third in a series with the well-known Professor Gauri Mahulikar ji, Dr. Mahulikar. This series of videos is brought to you by Indica, specifically Indica Bhasha. Today, the third talk will focus on patriotic literature in Sanskrit. For those who've been following the series so far, a refresher, and for those who don't know, this series is largely based on this particular book, Emerging Trends in Contemporary Sanskrit Literature, of which Professor Gauri Mahulikar ji is one of the editors. The first two talks are already up on YouTube for those who want to pursue them. In the comment section of this video, the links to those talks will be included so you can find them easily. With that, I welcome Dr. Mahulikar. Namaste, Professor Gauri Mahulikar. Welcome back to this series. Yeah, and over to you.
Namaste. Thank you, Meghji. And thank you, Indica Bhasha, for this wonderful initiative. This is a very, what you can say, novel idea to reach out to the people with whatever is happening newly in the Sanskrit literature. Most of the people, they have a feeling that Sanskrit is, like a Deva Bhasha, and it was there prevalent only during the ancient times, and the modern literature has nothing to do with that. It's not the case. So very, very great initiative from Indica Bhasha. And I feel fortunate to be a part of that as one of contributors and editors of the book, as well as I have some passion for Sanskrit language, and therefore this is a wonderful opportunity for me. So today's talk is on patriotic literature, and patriotism is a feeling. I mean, basically, when the term we use patriotic, it has patriarchal and patriarch, that Latin word which has fatherland. Surprisingly, we Indians, we believe in the land. We never talk of our bhumi as fatherland. We always talk of it as motherland. And in the very famous Atharvavedi Prithvi Sukta or Bhumi Sukta, we have the very famous quotation, Mata Bhumihi Putroham Prithivyaha. And this Mata Prithvi, as if, she gives milk in hundreds of streams to us, and that milk is all the produces from the Mother Earth, right? So that is the famous, that is a very, what you can say, at the outset, I would like to bring out the difference. We don't call it a father's land, it is our motherland, okay? But still, because the word is used as patriotism and not matriotism, I will have to use it the way it is in vogue. So with that Atharvavedic literature we start, and I may tell you there was one freedom fighter called Pandit Shripad Damodar Satavlikar, and he has contributed, in fact he has translated the entire Vedic Samhitas into Hindi, and he has published all the Vedic Samhitas from near Balsad, Gujarat. Okay, so that's a very unique, seminal contribution from him. And because he was a freedom fighter too, he and his colleagues in that freedom fighting struggle, pre-independence, they used to recite this Prithvi Sukta as Matrubhumi Sukta. So that used to inspire them, and of devotion and dedication unto the motherland. that is one of the Viniyogas. Sayanacharya, of course, has stated many Viniyogas for Prithvi Sukta, but this came as a Matrubhumi Sukta that was very, very unique and novel and very timely, because it really served as Matrubhumi Sukta for all the freedom fighters then. So how even a age-old, thousands of year old Vedic Richa, Atharva Vediya Sukta, could serve as, as something to trigger the feeling of patriotism is very, very remarkable, I must say. Now coming to our topic, which is dealt with in this book of emerging trends in contemporary Sanskrit literature, I would rather say that, the patriotism, this is what you can say, a mood or a feeling. Of course, Bharata in his Natya Shastra, when he discusses about the rasas, he talks only about the 8 rasas. And there is nowhere desabhakti as a rasa. Okay. But when Kavya Prakashakara Mammata wrote, commentary on that, following Abhinavagupta and Anandavardhan and all that, he said, Ratihi Devadi Vishayaha Bhavaha Proktaha. Ratihi Devadi Vishayaha Bhavaha Proktaha. So I feel we can take it ahead from where Mammata stopped. Rati, if it is between a man and a woman, it can give rise to Shrungara. But Devadi Vishayaha, if Rati comes for Deva, it becomes a Bhakti Rasa. If Rati is there, love and affection is there between a mother and a child, it can give rise to Vatsalya Rasa. Similarly, if that Rati, the love and affection is there, that fraternal feeling is there between a citizen and his motherland, why can't it be called Desha Bhakti Rasa? So I would go a step further, because Mammata has kept it ended. It is Bhavaha Proktaha, but then Bhava could be culminated into a rasa if there is enough samagri of Vibhava, Anubhava and Vibhichari. So that is one point I wanted to bring out that is not dealt with in the book, but that is my thinking. Because it is an open-ended Bhava Proktaha, I feel it could be culminated into Deshabhakti Rasa. And if that culminates into Deshabhakti Rasa, 2 main aspects are there. One is Rashtra Samrakshana and the other is Rashtra Samvardhana. Here we have the Rashtra Sankalpana and all that. There are numerous instances and references throughout the Rigveda and especially in the Atharva Veda. Okay, so that is one more point I just want to have it, spread out for deliberations amongst the people. Now coming to the book, because that is our main emphasis on the book here. Pre-independence India also, there were many such attempts, and some attempts, like I can tell you, the first ever Mahakavya, I can tell you, first ever Mahakavya on a patriotic person called Bhudeva Mukhopadhyay was written as early as 1917. 1917. That was written by Mahesh Chandra Chowdhury, a Bengali person. And the background for that is, in 1905, Lord Curzon decided to have the partition of Bengal. And therefore, all the Bengalis, all these authors, I can quote like Tara Chanda Chakravarti, Ram Gopal Ghosh, Krishna Mohan Bandopadhyay. These were freedom fighters, or, the people who were very, what you can say, dejected, disappointed, disheartened by this partition. Their hearts were bleeding with love for the people who got severed from their land. And they started talking in Sanskrit, writing in Sanskrit, the speeches in Sanskrit, the songs in Sanskrit. And one of these people was Bhudeva Mukhopadhyay. in 1905, and therefore Mahesh Chandra Chaudhary penned a biography on him that I consider as the first ever biography based on a patriotic person. Okay, from here it started. Okay, and then in Maharashtra also that flame was there. There was a very famous freedom fighter called Vasudev Balwant Phadke. He was born in a village near Panvel, today's New Mumbai, and he, of course, was, an unsung hero to many. Many didn't know him, but there was one very great Sanskrit scholar called Appa Shastri Rashiyudekar, and he wrote a Mahakavya on him as Panjarabaddha Shukaha. Panjarabaddha Shukaha. So that was another attempt at, bringing out something of the person who is unsung in a way. Then there were so many other Mahakavyas. Some were old, and then I'll come to the new ones. In the old ones, we have Lokanayak Ane, who was a contemporary of Lokamanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He stayed with Tilak, and he had seen Tilak very closely, his Jajvalya, Rashtranishtha and all that. And he wrote a biographical literature on him called Tilaka Yashoranava. It is a Mahakavya. Now, these are all modern 20th century, right? 20th century Mahakavyas. Then from Nashik, in 1954, after independence, this was written by Pandit Vishwanath Chhatre, and he wrote a biography on Subhash Chandra Bose and his Azad Hind Sena. So many people, millions of people were touched by Subhash Babu. And of course, he did not get that much popularity because there is only one Subhasha Charitam we have. Whereas Indira Gandhi Charitam, Nehru Charitam, Gandhi Charitam, there are many. When I'm dealing with biographical literature, I will consider all these. But today, let me not consider them. So only one Subhasha Charita by Pandit Chhatre from Nashik. So that was also very good. And then Sridhar Bhaskar Varnekar, very famous Sanskrit writer, right? He has penned so many beautiful kavyas, natakas, and so many things. So Sridhar Bhaskar Varnekar, he wrote on Shivaji's Charitra called Shivarajyodaya. In the medieval period from the 14th century to the 17th century, especially the 16th century, 17th century, you can't go ahead if you don't consider Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj at all. So he was like, torch bearer. He took inspiration from many other of his predecessors, and, he kept that baton, that was like, Dhagdhakti Tevli Jwala of Deshabhakti and Rashtranishtha. So Shivarajyodaya is a very famous Mahakavya. And then, of course, by Gaba Palsule from Pune, a great Mahakavya on a great Swatantra Senani Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. So Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, he wrote an entire kavya of some 15-20 sargas called Vainayakam. Very beautiful kavya, very beautiful. And now from Mumbai University only, I feel somebody has done an MPhil or PhD thesis on Vainayakam. So now these kavyas are coming up, like people now know, what is the value of this? Because we are always basking in the old literature. Of course, Bhasa, Kalidasa, Bhavabhuti, etc. We can't have Sanskrit literature without them. But there are many great poets in the modern period as well, and they are writing sometimes in a stylistic Sanskrit, sometimes in a very lucid, like Mahakavi Bhasa, very simple Sanskrit as well. And therefore, this Vainayakam, I would like to read the Arpana Patrika, The first shloka of this. This is the book. Megji has already shown this. Now the Arpana Patrika, G.P. Persule writes, Swatantriyartham ahuti krita sarvasvebhyaha sarvebhyaha jnata adnyatebhyaha hutatmabhyaha स्वातंत्र्य प्राप्तेः अस्मिन् सुवर्ण जयंती वर्षे sabhakti unmesham samarpitam. So this book was published in the Suvarna Jayanti Varsha, the 50th anniversary of our independence, the golden jubilee of our independence. And the Arpana Patrika is very, very clear. It says that those who ahuti krita, who surrendered themselves, their lives, and everything, not only life, but the Britishers took away all their Sthavara Jangama property. And if you read the plight which Savarkar's wife, Savarkar's brother's wife had to suffer, they had to sleep in the gosht, in the cow stable, such a great Swatantra Senani, and they suffered a lot. Even post-independence, they suffered a lot. So, Sarvasvebhyaha, Ahuti Krita, not only their pranas, Sarvasva, Sarvebhyaha, Jnata, Adnyatebhya, some are known to us, some are not even known to us. Hutatmabhyaha, Swatantrya Praptehe, Suvarna Jayanti Varshe, Sabhakti, Saunmesham, Samarpitam. And the very first verse, he starts with a kavya, with salutation to the goddess. Normally we start with a salutation to Saraswati, as you also did now. But here, Gabha Persule, he has it with this one, Swatantra Devata, and he says, Devim Swatantratam Vande Chitkalam Parameshwarim Deshabhaktanscha Vandeham Tan Balikrita Jivitan Ashastrava Sashastrava Ye Rashtra Daivata Vadinaha. Those who regard Rashtra as the Daivata, for all those people I salute. To all those people I salute, along with the Swatantra Devi. Now for all these, the inspirational thing is, the Swatantrate Bhagavati Tvamaham Yasho Yutam Vande. The same line which has been spoken of by Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, on the same line, this shloka also comes by Persule. So this is something very remarkable. Now, after these three literatures, these three things, we have two more other things. Of course, there are things like Bharata Mata Brute by Harinarayan Dikshita. Bharata Mata Brute. So here, or thus spake Bharata Mata. Here, Bharata Bhumi speaks. And this is a Mahakavya of 22 sargas. And he has taken a review of all the patriotic people, and this was published in 2003. So quite recent one, just 20 years back. Very recent in a way. Bharata Mata Brute by Harinarayan Dikshita, 22 sargas and more than 1500 verses, 1634 verses in Sanskrit. So that is a very remarkable thing. There is another kavya immediately after the Kargil Vijaya, the Vijaya Divasa, the Kargil War. There was a work written by Vrajasundar Mishra. Vrajasundar Mishra. This is also a Mahakavya, and not a Mahakavya. This is a small kavya, but it speaks about the 407 Hutatmas, the Shaheeds, who sacrificed their lives fighting for the independence, not the independence, but fighting for protecting the boundaries of Bharata Mata. 407 Hutatmas, and out of them 13 were from Odisha. And this kavya this Braj Sundar Mishra, an Oriya poet, he wrote it in Sanskrit in 257 verses, Kargil Kavyam or Kargil Vijayam. And this is again very remarkable. And this Oriya translation also is available of this Kavya, because there were 13 of the Shaheeds Hutatmas were from Odisha. This has been aptly translated into Odia language as well. So there are many such things. And one more thing which I wanted to say was in the earlier days, there were many talks, and like Lokmanya Tilak started writing in Kesari against the Britishers. Lokmanya Tilak started. That was the time when Lal Bal Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, and then Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Pal. All these three were there. Then here in Maharashtra, Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Gopal Ganesh Agarkar and Vishnu Shastri Chiplunkar. These were the three who started writing against the Britishers, but they were writing mostly in Marathi. And then somebody took it up that this should go in Sanskrit as well. And then this was incidental writing. At the same time, Mr. Lingesh Sharma Vidyabhushan, Mr. Madhusudan Ojha and Mr. Ramavatar Sharma started giving lectures in Sanskrit, propagating that first social improvement and then the independence. First, there is an awakening of the entire society, and then there is enkindling the fire, the flame of independence amongst the people. And the collection of all these speeches, they started speaking in Sanskrit, and the collection of all these speeches is available under the title Shri Ramavatar Sharma Nibandhavali. Ramavatar Sharma Nibandhavali. After that, there was some dark period. After that, there was a dark period. There was a lull, there happens to be a lull sometimes during the creative literature also, for a creative writer also, a lull sometimes. So here was a dark period almost from for 20 years or so, from 1900 to 1920, there was this dark period. And then, as I told you, when Lord Curzon started the Bengal's partition in 1905, and then the partition unleashed a monumental agitation. And in that agitation, we have all these Bengali authors, I told you. And they made an appeal not only to the males or the folks, the men, but to the ladies, to the wives, and to the kanyas. That line itself was so inspiring. They started saying the words, even the ladies appeared to take part in the anti-British movements, because that sentence which triggered their patriotism was, Ai Bharata Kumaryaha Jagrata. Awaken, rise up, oh, the maidens of Bharata Mata. Then Veerapatnyo, Veeramatascha Jagrata. The wives of the brave and the mothers of the brave, please rise up. Please rise up. So this was like a very, in that, it has to come. Now we can't understand that feeling. We can't become one with that feeling, because we are enjoying the ripened fruit of that independence. We are born in an independent India. But those who have already suffered, and they have heard the stories of suffering of their forefathers and the freedom fighters, they knew it better. And therefore only this prose sentence, the amount, awakening it has caused, that is very stupendous. We can't even be one with that feeling now, because we are, hum koso dur hai usse. Hum usse koso dur hai. So this is the Sanskrit composition ignited the spark of patriotism in every Indian mind, because it was invested with nationalistic glow and became the inspiration of the death-defying revolutionaries. Nobody cared for their lives. Death-defying revolutionaries. And this was, like fighting for the motherland and haste haste talahati shirageuniya. So these are the things. And, whenever India was caught between some attacks, be it the 65 attack or 72 attack, the China war or the Pakistan war. I was schooling those days, but then we had those Purti Geetas, like the Samara Geeta. बर्फाचे तटपेटुनी उठले सदन शिवाचे कोसळते रक्त आपुल्या प्रिय आईचे शुभ्र हिमावर ओघळते. And that used to enkindle us. Oh, I should go and fight. I was studying in 6th and 7th standard. But then, when there is such occasion, then occasionally this comes to us. Otherwise, we don't even experience what patriotism is, right? So therefore, I feel that such literature, which is there, Matrubhumi Yukta, and Pandit Satavalekar's contribution, I was already I was telling, and he has translated Atharva Veda and put volumes. He has not translated as first to 12 kandas or 14 kandas like that. He has gathered the suktas having a similar theme and has created 4 such volumes. The second volume of the Atharva Veda translated by him is Matrubhumi or Swarajya Shasan. Matrubhumi or Swarajya Shasan. So all the suktas which are dealing with the Rashtra Sankalpana, either Rashtra Samvardhana or Rashtra Saurakshana, whatever it may be, or just the Prithvi Sukta, which is our motherland, he has gathered them together. So I think, so these are the things which I wanted to tell you. And Subhasha Charitam, of course, there are a few Gandhi Charitam and Nehru Charitam and other things which nonetheless have inspired many people. I don't say they were not freedom fighters, but when I say freedom fighter, the revolutionary type of people who, do or die, that sort of feeling we don't find in the Gandhian parampara. So, but there are many such, and multiple people have written on Gandhiji, like Satyavrat Shastri, the first ever, what you can say, the person who got, what is that award? Not Sahitya Academy, what is the? Got the Bharatiya Jnanapith Award.
Oh, wow.
Jnanapith,
wow.
First ever in Sanskrit. I was not remembering the Jnanapith. It just came Sahitya Academy Award. It was not Sahitya Academy. It's Jnanapith Award for Sanskrit, and that was for his Ramakirti Mahakavyam. That is a Sanskrit version of Ramakiyen, the Indonesian and Javanese Ramayana, the local Ramayana. He was there, in Thailand. Right. Yeah, so he translated Ramakiyan as Ramakirti Mahakavyam, and he fetched the first Jnanapitha Award for Sanskrit for that book. He also has written on Indira Gandhi Charitam. In fact, I have reviewed one thesis on Indira Gandhi Charitam written by Satyavrat Shastri. His language is very, very nice, right? And of course, he has not failed in pointing out the drawbacks or the loopholes also. For example, the emergency period and all that, he has dealt with that, and he has criticized. It is not a blind bhakti. I mean, he has done his job so well. But so these charitras also are there, and they have also inspired a lot other people. But when I'm talking about the freedom fighter, like, Vasudev Balwant Phadke or Vinayak Damodar Savarkar, such a lot who really, and when we see the plight their family members suffered, then we are really pained. Our heart really bleeds for that, right? And therefore, I have taken here into consideration only such people. And there are many other, and the songs, etc. The songs, etc. There are many Sputa Kavita or Sputa Geetas are there in the Sambhashana Sandesha. Also, we saw such songs, or in the 10th and the 12th Maharashtra State Board, I mean the State Board books also of Sanskrit, we occasionally see such songs. But the entire literature, when we talk about, these are the Mahakavyas or some dramas which we can take into consideration. So this is really a very different genre. And because we are in a post-independence period, we are born, we haven't suffered that, and that doesn't really touch our heart so much as it has done earlier. And therefore the literature in quantity may be little less, but whatever we have is a very qualitative literature.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor Mahulikar, for sharing your views on patriotic literature in Sanskrit. As Professor clarified right in the beginning, she also clarified how she sees the usage of patriotic vis-a-vis the literature that she was about to talk, and then subsequently instantiated with so many wonderful examples. Towards the end of the talk, while she gave a kind of a comparative quantitative assessment that while this might be lesser, but at the same time, why this literature is an important part of how we understand who we are today, right? And how we have gotten to the stage that we are today. I think it definitely plays an important role to in today's day and age. There are different views on patriotism itself, but without getting into all of that, purely from a literature point of view and its consequence, I think this is, in my view at least, non-ignorable category
That's
of
right.
literature, right? So this was for whoever has seen through either the entire video or at least a part of it. This was the third in a series of videos that we are bringing out with Professor Mahulikar, based on largely this book, Emerging Trends in Contemporary Sanskrit Literature. If you don't have a copy of it, pick it up from Amazon. You can dive deeper. Professor Mahulikar was one of the editors of that book. The first talk in this series was on the different genres, just an introduction, broad introduction to different genres. That was followed by Harish Chandra Renapurkar's contribution to Sanskrit. And this was the third, which was patriotic literature in Sanskrit. I look forward to you joining us to our next video when we record and upload the same. Thank you so much, Professor. This was wonderful. I look forward to our next conversation, the next fourth video in this series. Namaste.
Hari Om. Namaste.